How you guys doing today? I wanted to take a break from talking about mental health and tell a little story about myself. Um, I'm Cuban American. I'm sure a lot of you can't tell, but I am Cuban American, and I do speak Spanish. And I want to tell you the story about how I came about to learn Spanish, because a lot of it I didn't learn in school. So when I was a kid, I visited my grandparents a lot. They actually lived about 15 minutes away from us. So every Saturday we'd go visit them. And my grandfather spoke some English. My grandmother spoke no English. And when I was younger, I had hearing problems and speech problems. And the doctors told my parents to not teach me any Spanish because it would confuse me because I had issues speaking English. So basically, I never had a chance to talk to my grandmother face to face. I never had a conversation with her because of the language barrier. So I always needed my father or my grandfather to translate. And she died when I was about 17. He died when I was about 12. So I never got that chance really to talk to her. And it's something I've always regretted that. Because even though we had that language barrier, I knew that she loved me. And I knew that she cared for me. It's just that we never got to have a conversation. And so fast forward a couple years after my grandmother died, I want to say around 2004, 2005, I was having issues with my health and I couldn't work. And so I stayed home. I stayed home and I was in a really, really deep, deep depression. I didn't leave the house. I just watched TV all day. I was in a funk, sort of like the way I am now, but it was a lot worse. And I had some severe health issues. My stomach was all in knots 24 hours a day. I had issues with my bladder, which were much worse than are now. I was smoking, which didn't help. So I was a mess. I couldn't function, to be honest. It was so bad that I couldn't leave the house. But for whatever reason, I don't know what it was, I decided one day that I was going to learn Spanish. And it wasn't because I wanted a job or anything. It's just I wanted to learn. I wanted to know more about my culture. Because I didn't grow up in a Cuban community. And because I look the way I look, people didn't believe that I was Cuban. And I was sort of frustrated. And I wanted to sort of prove them wrong. So I figured maybe if I learned Spanish, I could be more Cuban. I don't know. It sounds silly, but so I decided I was fortunate enough to have books like Spanish English dictionaries around the house, and my dad had these old Spanish literature books, all in Spanish, and it's all about determination. That's the main theme of what I'm talking about. It's all about, determination. And so one day, I started watching Univision and Telemundo, and I started to just listen. There were beautiful women that probably helped, but I would listen, and I would take that sort of English dictionary and I learned the days of the weeks. I would learn any word I could. I wasn't learning about structure. All I was learning was just, oh, this word means that. Oh, martes means Tuesday or whatever. And I think I'm wrong about that, but I started learning certain words. And then by reading literature, I learned some of the basic structures, like the feminine and the masculine, and a lot of people probably don't believe me when I say that I taught myself Spanish, but it is, and it's possible. And it's something that I would encourage other people to do because it's an incredible skill. Never did I think that I could sit with a Hispanic person who doesn't speak a word of English and to be able to communicate. And a lot of it is I learned the language myself. And then after those few years, I took some Spanish courses. And it was to the point where they actually thought, they moved me up. I had taught myself so much that I no longer needed to be in the basic classes anymore. So, I don't know why I'm telling this story. It's something I'm proud of. And I figure if someone like me can do that, then anybody can. It opens the door. You know, it opens the door to be able to talk to a person in another language in your own words. Because translations are always different. You know, and it's, you can learn about other cultures that way. Not just Spanish, but any language. Learn about other cultures, job opportunities, all sorts of things. But you got to be determined and not give up. Yeah. That's it. Thanks.